Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I am back on the War Thunder Update 1.85 development server taking a look at the F-100D Super Sabre. Now this aircraft is going to be the top American jet fighter after this update, and you know what, it's a pretty good aircraft. Not quite got the climb rate of the MiG-19, but it has still got a fairly decent top speed, and I believe can actually outspeed the 19 at sea level, which is definitely a big positive, as well as having twice the amount of guns and twice the amount of air-to-air missiles. And considering how air-to-air missiles aren't exactly the most accurate pieces of ordnance, it is pretty good that you have two extras just in case you can't use them to their full potential. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by going into a climb. We will head off a bit. We're just going to level out slightly, get the speed up, and then sort of climb gradually, get to altitude. The climb rate of this is far less than the MiG-19. The MiG-19, fully spaded, has a climb rate of around 160 meters per second. This only has about 60. So, you know, far less, nowhere near as good as the MiG-19. But on the other hand, this aircraft is far bigger, and the Super Sabre wasn't designed to be a interceptor fighter. It was more designed to be a sort of ground attack type aircraft. So here's this MiG-15. We're going to start off with some missile fighting. So as you can see, I've turned on the missile aiming system. That is waiting for a sort of heat signature lock, which it's got. I fire the missile. Of course, the MiG turns, so the missile basically can't keep up with the MiG's turn. So we have to turn in a bit more. You know, one good thing I like about the air-to-air missiles at this point is that they're not overpowered. Main reason being that if the enemy aircraft turns, you're not going to hit it. Although here, he's going in a straight line, and I'm able to take him out. And as I've said in previous videos on this dev server, that's what these missiles are going to be for. You can dogfight an enemy aircraft, use your guns, or boom and zoom with your guns at close range. But you know, when an enemy aircraft is pulling away from you, when they're trying to run away, that is when you use these missiles. Now, as you can see, the cockpit, beautiful design, very nicely modelled, so props to Gaijin for that. This is a very nice model of the Super Sabre, and I really do like it, actually. Very nicely done. And you also have the slats on the leading edge that come out when you get to low speed, or if you're doing sort of high wing loading manoeuvres. They really help to improve the manoeuvrability of the aircraft, as well as the wing fences out on the wing, give the ailerons a bit more control at lower speeds, which is really useful. Now, we are getting to a decent altitude, so I'm just going to fly level for a bit, get the speed up, see what we can do. We do want to, of course, take this thing supersonic. What would be the point of flying it if we weren't going to do that? So, you know, going to go level, give it a bit of speed. I might begin a dive. I'm just going to head back towards Wake Island, and then we'll get going into the dive. This aircraft is fairly good, in my opinion. It's as I said, it is bigger than the MiG-19, it is a lot slower climbing, and a lot slower at higher altitude. Well, not a lot slower, actually, it's a bit slower at high altitude, a bit faster at sea level, but it does carry far more ordnance. For example, the MiG-19, that is not a tank RB type aircraft. This, on the other hand, this can carry, I believe, about 8,000 pounds worth of bombs. So, you know, it's totally a sort of ground strike aircraft. It could be usable. One thing to be careful of is if you're flying at low speed in, for example, Tank RB, and you're trying to accurately drop bombs, don't lose sight of your speed, because if you stall this thing close to the ground and you lose control, you know, it's the kind of aircraft that stalls, and it doesn't exactly, the nose does not pitch down, it just begins to fall out the sky. So you do want to be very careful with not stalling this thing. Anyway, though, we are getting close now to the speed of sound, so in a minute we're going to start seeing the shockwave forming, and there it is, the shockwave is forming, and there we go. As you can see, it's gone silent in front, quiet behind due to the supersonic speed, and the shockwave is basically going away behind the aircraft because we are well over Mach 1, and we can actually sustain supersonic speeds for some time at sea level, which is rather interesting. This thing has a lot better low altitude sort of propulsion thrust, really, than the MiG-19, but of course at high altitudes the MiG, it's the opposite effectively, the MiG is better. But this thing, pretty damn good. Of course, a lot of people do think this thing looks like a catfish. I personally agree. I think it looks a bit ugly with the nose, with the big intake on the front, but you know what? It is a pretty cool aircraft, and the performance definitely backs that up. But when I say that, do not be mistaken. It is not a dogfighting aircraft. Granted, it has got a very nice roll rate at higher speeds, but, you know, if you try and dogfight, for example, a Javelin or a MiG-19, you will not win. This is a boom and zoom aircraft. These guns, upgraded guns from the version on the F-2 Sabre. They are high velocity guns, they're revolver cannons. You want to zoom in, fire some shots, knock someone out, run away. Of course, with this being one of the few supersonics in the game, and having such good sea level speed, sort of energy retention, that's a very good role for this aircraft. And the missiles, of course, you're going to catch everything up that tries to escape you. MiG-19s, after a dive, will likely be able to escape you for a bit, and you might not catch them. But, you know, that's what the missiles are for. You need to fire the missile, shoot down the target. But anyway, let's go and take this thing for a landing. First off, we have that massive air brake underneath it, which, you know, it's I suppose it would need that to actually slow it down. It's a big, heavy aircraft, and slowing it down from such big speeds, you're going to need quite a large air brake to actually produce the drag to slow it down. And I've also put the flaps to combat just to get a bit more deceleration. Landing is difficult. On my first attempt to get a test flight, I stalled it out and crashed. On this attempt, I went too fast. And, you know, the aircraft survives the landing. Whether it's intact or not, you're going to have to wait and see. Doesn't exactly end as well as I would have liked. I am coming in a bit quick. But again, it's just these supersonic jets, they're going to fly very different to anything else we've seen in game. Apart from MiG-19 is fairly easy, I would say. This being a lot bigger, it's a lot more complicated to fly. So what I would say with this, before you go into any games, test fly it, nail the landings, get used to the aeroplane. Because otherwise, you will goof up on your first test or on your first actual game, and then that's going to cost you a load of silver lions to repair. Well, I suppose you had a free repairs initially, but still, you want to make sure you can actually land the thing. And as you can see, I am still going fairly quick, so I do want to just stop, and I don't want to go into the trees. So, you know, a bit of skiddy there just to stop the aircraft, and that should ideally stop me before I hit anything, although it did destroy my undercarriage. But there we go. That is the F-100D Super Sabre. Obviously not a dogfighter, but boom and zoom, definitely. Chasing things down, yes. I would say go to mid-altitude at the beginning of games, at least if this model stays as it is on the current dev server. Go to mid-altitude would be a good sort of thing, maybe 15 to 20,000 feet. Chase things down. If you're facing lower, slower aircraft, chase them down. Don't try and engage MiG-19s if you can avoid it, because it's highly likely they will just dominate the F-100 and completely destroy you. But there you go, the F-100 on the dev server. Thanks a lot for watching the video. If you did enjoy, please consider smashing the like button, maybe even subscribe to the channel if you do. That would be massively appreciated. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.